Welcome to Echo at Africa. I'm Nel Taegbe coming to you from Lagos, Nigeria. Today on the show we'll be looking at a lot of things, but first we'll be looking at why weather prediction is important to the energy market. Then we'll be looking at how Durban, one of South Africa's largest cities, is adapting to climate change, and how an ice machine on the islands of Cape Verde is likely to help save the livelihoods of some fishermen. Welcome. First, let's head to Rwanda, where less than 20% of the population has access to electricity. That could change thanks to a power plant that extracts natural gas from Lake Kivu. The technology is complicated, but it seems to be worth it. The entire region could profit from this pilot project.
Lake Kivu in northwestern Rwanda. The local population lives from fishing, but fish stocks are dwindling and livelihoods are threatened. These days, children use the fishing boats as playgrounds. The trouble is that the lake contains dangerously high levels of methane, which is deadly for most fish species. The lake is becoming toxic. According to scientists, if the gas isn't extracted, there could be a major eruption here in about 100 years. An extraction plant has been in operation since early 2016. An offshore barge siphons the methane gas to the surface, and then the gas is used to supply electricity to the national grid. The technology has never before been used to extract methane from a lake. The construction of the plant took several years. U.S. company Control Global financed the project with funds from the African Development Bank. The international team includes Rwandans.
All these engineering, the people, the resources, the materials had to be brought from all around the world to bring here in the middle of Africa, in the Lake Kivu, right? So this was the first biggest challenge. And all the thinking, since it's a unique project, it has not been done anywhere. We don't have any benchmark, we don't have any reference. We had to develop everything ourselves. So all this thinking took time. All these trials, failures, again and again throughout these years, and now we are succeeding.
The gas is extracted from depths of up to 365 meters at a rate of 20,000 cubic meters per hour. Every step is closely monitored in the control room.
Okay.
Concentrated methane can cause toxic explosions.
It's untreated gas. The gas is brought above deck, and above the deck we treat the gas, we clean the gas, we wash the gas to remove all the impurities, all the other gases what we don't want, and we take only the methane. And the rest of the gas and the water, we bring it to a specific level where we still ensure proper lake stability.
The Karongi region is home to more than 300,000 people. They're also benefiting from this energy project. It feeds 26 kilowatts of electricity into the national grid, and that's enough to supply 26,000 households in Europe. Here in Rwanda, more than half the population lives without electricity. Even so, many locals have reservations about the project, especially fishermen and people who live along the lake. The water has changed color, and that could disrupt everything. We think it's the power plant.
Sometimes you see so many machines in the Lake Kivu, sometimes they can kill the fish. Not only that, so many activities which is being done in the Lake Kivu can also be barriers of increasing of fishing in Lake Kivu.
The project has, however, brought money to the region. New roads have been built. Hotels have electricity 24 hours a day. People who work for the power plant are arriving in droves as scientists keen to take a look at the new pilot project. For local hotels, they represent a business opportunity. As far as tourism is concerned, we assume that the power plant will be a boom. We're seeing a lot more visitors. For example, the staff of the facility. They bring foreign currency into the country, and the hospitality business will benefit. The power plant operators will be sending more staff to Lake Kivu in future. Plans are on the way to expand the facility so that its capacity will have quadrupled by 2019. And locals are hoping that in the long run, The reduction in methane will also help replenish fish stocks.
What's the weather going to be like tomorrow? That's always a favorite topic for a conversation, and anyone who wants to know it a little bit more precisely can use forecast on apps or on radio and sometimes television. But that's often not precise enough, especially for energy providers. As the entire globe, Nigeria and Europe, Africa moves on to renewable energy, energy providers will need to know exactly how their wind or solar facilities are doing. And for them to know that, they need to know exactly what the weather is going to be like per time.
Today, there's just enough wind here in central Germany to generate some electricity from local wind turbines, although that's often not the case in the summertime. You can see the wind farm in nearby Sörewald, although Thomas Landgraf has never actually been up there. He's in the energy forecasting business. The data he requires comes from weather services. Here he's looking at wind speeds over the English Channel. He and his team at Enercast then supply customized forecasts. That includes determining how much wind at what altitude will hit a wind turbine.
The weather is crucial. We know how the facility reacts to it. Then we do the math and tell our clients how much power will be coming onto the grid the next day.
Up on the hill, the turbine's blades are barely turning. Local power utility EAM keeps an eye on the forecasts, around 400 per day, supplied every few hours from Enercast. Right now they're predicting a largely sunny rather than windy day. The predictions help make the distribution of energy among the grids more efficient, rather like preventing traffic jams.
Grid operators are required to A, increase our intake of regenerative energy, and B, ensure the grids are run economically. And that's only possible if you have the right data to work with, and that allows you to optimize capacity.
The forecaster is helping utilities do just that. Enercast's revenue has doubled in the last 2 years. A subsidiary of German energy giant RWE has invested a couple of million euros in the startup. That in turn has enabled it to expand internationally, mainly in Eastern Europe, but also in the US and now also in China.
We're seeing major expansion through renewables. At first, renewables are a niche, and they don't need us. But as soon as you see 10 or 20% renewables, they'll need our service. And with more expansion in renewables, the more important our service becomes.
Solar-based systems likewise need accurate forecasts on how much energy can be expected. Operators need to know when a bank of cloud will stop them from harvesting vital sunshine. It's a service that could soon also be of interest for Africa, where a solar cell produces up to twice as much energy as in Germany. It's a big opportunity to invest in renewables instead of fossil fuels. Kenya plans to soon use solar energy to cover over half of its energy production. A number of African countries are looking for investors to build large-scale solar power plants, and companies like Enercast are watching this development.
These countries are currently being supplied with heavy fuel oil. Producing 1 kilowatt-hour is then very expensive, 30 cents. That's a lot of money for the US too. One simple solution is to install a photovoltaic generator on a diesel generator and then shut down the diesel when the sun's out.
Back in Germany, the wind speed reaches 5 meters per second, today's peak. That translates into a meager 240 kilowatts of electricity. Compare that with the 3,000 kilowatts at maximum output. But as the experts at Enercast know, sometimes there's nothing to do but wait for the wind to change.
So, have you ever wondered why Europe continues to ship its electronic waste to Africa? Some people see that as exploitation. But, well, it's about to end, I guess. A startup in Germany wants to see and ensure that discarded electronic equipment is processed professionally and recycled. These young entrepreneurs are doing their bit for the environment.
$50 million tons of e-waste are generated worldwide every year, according to estimates. However, electronics contain valuable minerals like copper, gold, and platinum. They can be reused instead of being thrown away into landfills. Martin Jenat came up with a system. He's the founder of Verde, a Leipzig-based startup. Verde is a recycling bin for old electronic devices, which are sent to a recycling plant in Bavaria. There, the different components are separated, shredded, and melted. Verde also comes with an app where users can input information about their old devices. In return, the app notifies the users of the reuse process and provides them with a discount voucher for stores. In the future, Verde will be placed in public spaces as well, like universities, museums, and the Leipzig Zoo. This win-win system benefits its users and the environment. So think twice before you throw away your old gadgets.
If you're also doing your bit, tell us about it. Visit our website or send us a tweet. #DoingYourBit. We share your stories.
According to an analysis by the Climate Action Tracker website, South Africa will need to implement additional policies in order to reach its proposed greenhouse gas target. The online platform is produced by independent research organizations that track efforts towards limiting global warming. Durban, one of the biggest metropolitan areas in South Africa, wants to lead the way. The city and its authorities are working towards a hotter and drier future. Here's more.
Durban's climate forecast is devastating for poor communities. Experts are predicting both water shortages and violent floods. Across the city, residents prepare for rising temperatures, like here, where Sinzo Nduli and his team are busy restoring a riverbed to its natural form. We are cleaning this stream here. We are doing the cleaning for the people of this area, so they can start planting. Most of them have started planting, as you see there. Durban hopes these measures will help the city better adapt to climate change. Natural green areas are important for cities to minimize the harmful effects of global warming. Healthy wetlands ease floods, whereas nearby forests are balancing temperatures and improving the groundwater quality. Natural open spaces are especially important with more and more people moving into cities. Poor neighborhoods are quickly growing, with little or no resources to protect them from extreme weather events. Dr. O'Donoghue from the eThekwini municipality wants to make sure that Durban's growth will benefit both its people and the natural environment. We meet him on one of the green garden rooftops of the inner city.
So what you would do in Europe, for example, with adaptation, a lot of that's around retrofitting what you already have on the ground. But in Africa, we've got two key strengths. We've got people and we've got lots of natural areas. So in Durban, we base our adaptation response on communities and ecosystem-based adaptation. We call it SIBA, pairing our two strengths for these people to get A, out of poverty, and B, out of vulnerability.
In order to reach its ambitious goals, Durban is regenerating natural areas from the city center to its western boundaries in the hilly hinterland. This is the site of the Buffelsdry Reforestation Project. 50 different tree species are grown here at the project's nursery to restore the indigenous forest on the large sugarcane fields. The reforestation project employs locals and stimulates growth of businesses in the surrounding communities. Joseph Sithole and his wife were trained in growing seedlings from indigenous trees. The so-called treepreneurs sell their seedlings to the reforestation project and other places around the city. Over the past 7 years, the Sitholes grew well over 20,000 trees. We've been growing these plants for some years now, and our lives have improved. Even the children at school are getting help. We can sell these trees for money, so we manage to pay school fees, and we can afford lots of other things too. That is what makes me happy. We did not get the benefits from the sugarcane fields that we got from growing these trees. We have got jobs now through these trees. In Joseph Sithole's community alone, there are about 120 home nurseries, which help to grow the 600,000 trees that were planted. For Errol Doers, the city's project coordinator, the reforestation shows tangible benefits for people and environment.
It's really important that as a city, we ensure that our communities are more resilient. What we're anticipating is increased flooding events, as well as increased number of droughts in these areas. Now, both of those have severe impacts for local people. So through adaptation, by rebuilding ecosystems, we can help to reduce the impacts of those floods and also ensure that the droughts are minimized.
Climate protection is often dismissed as too expensive for African cities. The approach followed in Durban, however, does not need big budgets and has direct benefits for its people.
We know the right development pathway we should take. There's international funding available. There's never been a better time for us to address the problems in the world that we have now. And we can use the opportunity of climate change. It's a terrible thing that's facing us, but it's also an opportunity. We can use it to improve the world and leave no one behind.
With the hope that other cities will follow its example, Durban is determined to continue its path for a better future.
And now let me present to you a real environment DYS enthusiast, a young Nigerian, Emeka Nelson. The 22-year-old used to be a trash collector. Now, as the world explores other options for greater sustainability, this young man may just have found a way to deal with non-degradable waste like plastics and polythenes. He has created a machine that can break down these materials into some kind of crude substance that can be used as fuel. Now, that's what we call raw passion and talent on display.
Lagos, for instance, generates about 13,000 metric tons of waste daily. Canals are clogged with non-degradable materials such as plastics and nylons, constituting great dangers to the environment. The search for solutions to these challenges may have driven 22-year-old Emeka Nelson, who once scavenged dump sites in Anambra, to invent a machine that could turn these waste into oil that could be broken down further for domestic and commercial uses, that converts non-biodegradable waste like plastic, waterproof, nylon, and more into a crude-like refinable oil.
Now, the first stage, what I actually need to do on this machine is feed all the waste you need into this. This is a reactor. It's actually, that's what now, when you fed it, you must have fed it here, you close it. Then here, it's set on this one. And here we'll have the oven. This, yes, is oven. Okay. But this kind of oven, although we use charcoal here, I will be able to kind of get something like about 500 to 3,000 degrees from this thing.
After about 13 minutes, the oil collects over the water.
As you can see, this is a pure example of the oil we are talking about.
This he then gathers into a container, and to prove its flammable property, Emeka strikes a match.
But because it's still a complex mixture, it just burns gradually like this. Now, those wastes that are not converted to fuel is not the one that we use to mold interlocking stones. But in some cases, the machine turns everything into fuel. But in that case, that we don't turn all of them to fuel, now those wastes, instead of me kind of discarding to the environment again, causing a lot of problem, now use it to mold interlock.
Emeka, who attended primary school in the neighborhood, has always been self-motivated and always eager to solve problems in spite of his poor background.
He is motivated from within. It's not like somebody is telling him to do all this. So what he needs now is support. I think he has more to offer than this.
He is also working on a hydropower generator, which when successfully scaled up would eliminate effect of bad fumes on our environment.
Okay. I just did on experimental point. It's working.
Currently, this generator can produce up to 660 watts of electricity, and Emeka hopes to scale it up further to a more reasonable amount.
Many regions of Africa suffer from lack of access to electricity. But that's not a problem in Cape Verde, where many of the residents, plenty of them at that, are electrified. But energy prices are extremely high, simply because Cape Verde's energy supply depends on expensive fuel imports, and the people are forced to pay significantly more per kilowatt hour. Which is why one clever fisherman got the idea to install a solar-powered ice maker. Today, others are following in his footsteps.
Auxilio Matias shows us his ice maker. He and other fishermen in Salamanca had a big problem paying for the ice they need to preserve their catch. 50 kilograms of ice used to cost the equivalent of 10 euros. It was expensive because they had to bring it in from a nearby city. Now that they can produce it here, it costs only half as much.
This community is poor and needs a lot of help. We used to buy the ice in Mindelo. We had to go there by car to buy it there. So I decided to do a project to bring the ice here to Salamanca.
The key to reducing ice costs is solar energy. Auxilio requested an ice maker powered by the sun, and the Japanese government bought them one as an investment. Auxilio and his son learned how to run it and repair it so the ice never runs out.
Our association is responsible for the machine's maintenance and sells the ice. We have a bank account to keep the ice maker in good condition and to help the community.
The ice is not only being used to preserve the fishermen's catch. The Fishermen's Association also sells buckets of ice to other villagers who use it to conserve their fruit and fish. Sometimes they even sell the ice to other towns. They say the money they earn is mainly used to maintain the ice machine, but they also use it to help the local school or pay for medicine and medical costs when people can't afford it. Here, solar energy is also being used to illuminate the main streets. Solar power is gaining popularity in small rural communities like Salamanca. Organizations are now closely watching these developments, including the United Nations and the ECOWAS Center for Renewable Energy and Energy Efficiency. Elena Sanchez's team is monitoring a project in the community of Furna in southern Cape Verde. To produce ice, fishermen there usually pay the equivalent of 420 euros a month for electricity. Now with these solar panels, they've slashed their bill to 70 euros.
Our goal is to reduce greenhouse gases while implementing this project. But the communities feel the economic benefits first, because the project for renewable energies is viable in Cape Verde. And the immediate result is lower electricity bills.
This ice maker is a big help, and for fishermen in Salamanca, a second one would be even better. But the advanced technology doesn't come cheap. It cost over 250,000 euros. The fishermen don't have that kind of money. Yet more ice could also mean a better fishing business and more revenue for the community.
For me, this is good, but if we had an additional one, it would be better.
Cape Verde enjoys almost 365 days of sunshine. The country has set an ambitious goal to use 100% clean energy by 2020.
Ice from the sun. Now, I wish I had that here in Nigeria, where sometimes it gets really hot. You don't want to imagine that. But that's all for today on the show. I want to thank you so much for being a part of it. You can find out more on our coverage of the environment, innovations in green technology, and energy conservation on our website showing on your screen. Join the conversations on our social media platforms as well. From Lagos, Nigeria, till we bring you another edition, it's bye-bye.